I gotta hear you till he gets here. Come on.
Hi, I've been a baseball coach for 20 years, but I'm not the kind that's all about winning. I'm the kind that's the new agey kind, all about fun and personal development and respecting the game and boring things like that. A couple of years ago, I was coaching a team of 12 and 13-year-olds, and I'd known most of these kids for years. I'd coached them in various teams, and it was late July. And late July for 12 and 13-year-olds means it's the playoffs, which is very exciting. My team was pretty good. We'd won most of our games, but there was one other team that was better than us. And that team was better than us because the three coaches of that team had rigged the player draft so that they had the three best players. And so they beat everybody, which was awesome. And as luck would have it, on this July night, we had to play that team in the playoffs. And it was a beautiful Friday, July evening. It was late at night, 8 o'clock, which is late for 12-year-olds. And it was under the lights, which is very exciting for 12-year-olds. And because it was so late, all the families were there. There were 75 or 100 parents spread out around the game. And the game started out really well for us. We were ahead 8-1 after 2 innings. And I'd like to tell you that it's because our team played really well. And we did play pretty well. We hit the ball and we caught the ball. But the truth is, we were ahead 8-1 because the umpire had made 3 or 4 awful calls. And all of them went my team's direction. And as a result, I got to watch the 3 coaches in the other bench go through the 3 stages of coach meltdown. The first one is you throw shit. And the second one is you passively aggressively yell out at your own players things that are actually directed for the umpire, but you have plausible deniability because you're talking to your own kid. And the third stage is like on TV, where you interrupt the game and you go out and you throw things and kick dirt. And they had done all of that after 2 innings. The third inning, my team scores another run. And it was another bad call by the umpire. And they lose their minds. The 3 coaches come running out of the dugout, and they surround the umpire, and there's some shoving, and there's definitely swearing and yelling and raised voices. And I should tell you now that the umpire is working by himself, and he's 14 years old. But worse, behind them are 75 grown-ups who are also losing their minds. About a third of them are yelling at the umpire, and about a third of them are yelling at the coaches, and all of them are yelling back and forth at each other. And there's people standing, there's red faces, there's swearing. It's chaos. And so my instinct is try to help this poor 14-year-old umpire. So I come out of the dugout, and before I can even get halfway to home plate, the coach runs over and gets in my face and asks me what the fuck my problem is. And so, screw the umpire, he's on his own. And so I turn around and I gather my children up, I gather my kids, and I take them all out to left field, way out in left field by the fence. And this is where the wonders happen. I get out there with my kids, and Tommy, I can't use the real names, but we'll call him Tommy, speaks up. And Tommy's the quiet kid who never talks. He says something once a day, and everybody listens. He's the quiet leader, right? And Tommy says, "Those guys are assholes. This sucks." And I think about some sort of corrective action about his language, but under the circumstances, I let it go. And then I go into some new agey shit about this situation. And a few minutes later, the umpire, who has somehow escaped, comes over and he says, "Coach, the other team is ready to resume the game. We need you to get your team back out on the field." And so I look at my guys, and they kind of huddle without me saying anything. They talk. And Tommy speaks for them, and he says, "We don't want to play with those bastards. This sucks. This is no fun." And I realize at that moment that I've totally succeeded, right? They value fun, integrity, being a grown-up, respecting the game, and I'm very proud. But at that point, the umpire interrupts and says, "Well, guys, you're ahead 9-1, but if you don't go back on the field, it's a forfeit." And so I look at the guys, and they don't even talk this time. They just look at each other, and they kind of shrug their shoulders like, "Meh, it's the way it is." And so I tell the umpire, "We forfeit. And let me know if you need help getting safely back home tonight." Thank you.
Say it again for Rob. My first coach growing up was my dad. I was on a team, but my dad was the coach, my two brothers were the assistant coaches, and my mom was the team mother, and my sister was the bad girl, so no pressure at all. My dad was a soldier, very manly man, and I always dressed like this. So I was not great at baseball. But my second year in baseball, the only thing worse than your dad being your coach is when he becomes an umpire. Because my dad was behind home plate, so when I went up to bat to swing, it was my dad calling balls and strikes. And he would do these very dramatic calls like strike, and everyone was known for these very dramatic calls, and he'd do a little dance at the end. And so I would get up there and swing, and Dad would yell strike, and then under his breath, so that only I and the catcher could hear, he'd go Javi. Yeah. I was a very heady kid at the time. I was like, well, that's gonna scar. Tell us about a time you couldn't believe your eyes hugging Barack Obama at Matt's in Minneapolis. Yeah. I love this one. Seen an angel leave the full moon above the frozen prairie and circle down from the zenith until she turned into a great snowy owl. Yeah. So, if you see a warlock in here, be nice. When I came out of the bathroom to find my professor wearing only his boxers. I have a lot of questions about this one, but judges, are you ready with your scores? Yes. Let's go with a Wonder Punch. What is your score? 9.6. 9.6. Holy mackerel, what is your score? 9.5. 9.5. And One Direction, 8.9. Let's hear it again for Rob. We have two more storytellers